This is Valyrian steel.
Valyrian steel.
It's Valyrian steel.
Valyrian steel.
What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one. And we know that Valyrian steel will play a major role in this upcoming season when it comes to defeating the Night's King and the White Walkers.
Oh, careful, Your Grace. Nothing cuts like Valyrian steel.
We have seen how effective Valyrian steel is against regular steel and against human flesh, as Brienne is pointing out so well in this picture that we are looking at right here. So we know Valyrian steel cuts down humans no problem, cuts down steel no problem, and has the ability to parry the White Walkers' weapons. Because until this point, we've seen the White Walkers with their bare-ass hands shatter steel. So now we know that Valyrian steel can chop down the White Walkers and parry their weapons. Very important.
Indeed.
Now, the only problem with Valyrian steel is that it comes from Valyria. And since the doom of Valyria, well, I'm going to say since the doom of Valyria, because we really don't know if the Targaryens were able to produce Valyrian steel. I don't think so. So I will say that since the doom of Valyria, all the recipe, the secrets to making this special steel has been lost. But people do know how to rework Valyrian steel. Now, many people think that what will happen is that this season, Gendry will make some new Valyrian steel weapons for all of our people. Now, that is a very good possibility. At Con of Thrones, the person who plays Gendry, Jack Dempsey, said he has a huge role playing this upcoming season. Now, I do believe the huge role he has is going to be marrying Sansa Stark when it's all said and done. But I do believe that Gendry will make new Valyrian steel weapons. Because every story needs a blacksmith, right? You know you gotta have the guy who can get this done. And Gendry is the dude, because in the books, Tybalt Mott is the guy who is able to reforge Valyrian steel. They went a different way with it in the show, and that is the guy who Gendry worked with. So now, what goes into making Valyrian steel? Now, the number one thing I think that has to go into it is obsidian or dragon glass. That along with dragon fire. I do believe that is what people have forgotten. That is the secret to making it. Somehow mixing those elements with a couple of others. But how many weapons can Gendry possibly make? You know, can he make 3? That would be like the most I could see him making, 3 extra weapons. So that's not really going to help out that much against the White Walkers. When you talk about hundreds of thousands of whites, 3 more weapons really isn't going to help out a lot. Now, when dealing with the first long night, the Valyrians were nowhere around. Hence, there were no Valyrian steel weapons to rely on, to fight the White Walkers back on, to fight the whites with. Now, in the books, it's a little different. The Valyrian steel does not work on the whites quite like we have seen in the show. If it does, we have not been shown that. So maybe it does, but so far in the books, they only are effective like that against the White Walkers themselves. To kill whites in the books, you must burn them. That is how they die. So we know that during the first long night, the evil children of the forest created the White Walkers, and they almost wiped out all of man. It wasn't until man found the children of the forest, and then the children gave them help. They gave them dragon glass, most likely, to take out these White Walkers. But I do not believe that is the only thing that the first men used to their advantage to survive during the long night. And I think that recently the first men have all forgotten about this. They have gotten away from this practice because they believe that it's outdated. But I think that they're going to have to go back to the old ways in order to save themselves in this new long night. In the dawn age of Westeros, before the coming of man and the raising of castles and cities, there were only the children of the forest. They lived in the depths of the forest, in hidden villages, crannies, and caves. They hunted with weirwood bows and armed themselves with blades of obsidian. Their wise men, called gleanseers, carved faces in the great white trunks of the majestic weirwoods, their deep-cut eyes red with sap, and ever watchful. 12,000 years ago, the first man came to the eastern continent, crossing a land bridge called the Armored Dawn, riding the great horses and wielding weapons of bronze. They cut down the children's forests and weirwoods. A terrible war raged between the children and the first men that lasted for centuries. At long last, the two races sought an end to the years of horror and bloodshed. They met on a small island at the center of a great lake called the God's Eye. It was there that they forged the pact. But the pact could not withstand the coming of the Andals, a race of tall, fair-haired warriors. They attacked with fire and weapons of steel, slaughtering the children of the forest wherever they could find them, burning out their weirwood groves, hacking away their faces of the old gods, and spreading their own religion. But the kings of winter were able to withstand the Andal invasion. The descendants of the first men dwell there to this day and continue to worship the old gods. Now we all know that the Starks and the Targaryens have a major role to play when defeating the White Walkers, but I think that there's another house that is not talked about enough that has a major part to play when it comes to defeating the White Walkers and surviving the long night. And I think we can see this in the beginning, right from the jump. The first blood spilled by the White Walkers, Waymar Royce. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Royce's blood was spilled first. Now, Waymar's father is Jon Royce. And Jon Royce in the show is great, but he does not look like he's supposed to look like in the books. In the books, Jon Royce is as big as the Hound. So right there you can see there's a big difference between the actor who's playing him and how he's supposed to look in the books. Now another thing that they have left out but is very pivotal is what he wears. Now before the Andal invasion, the Royces were known as the Bronze Kings, and Jon Royce's nickname is Bronze. But why do they stick to bronze so much? Their house words are also "we remember." But what do they remember? And why does Jon Royce wear this so-called outdated armor? Now this bronze armor that he wears is over 1,000 years old, and it has ruins in it. And supposedly this armor is able to ward him from all harm. And my brother Tino pointed this out to me. If we look up bronze, which is basically copper, it says copper is extremely effective in cold weather. In fact, it says the colder it gets, the stronger and harder copper becomes. So could the words of House Royce mean that in order to beat the White Walkers, what they do remember and what keeps them out of harm is wearing bronze armor? And that could be the last ingredient that they need to make Valyrian steel. Some bronze in that bitch. Because I'm sure there is more bronze armor laying around than there is Valyrian steel armor. And the Northmen are gonna need something to protect them from the White Walkers. So what do you think about this? Let me know in the comment section. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground. I want to go to the middle of the night. I want to piss on his head.
What?
I said no more shines. Maybe you didn't hear about it. You've been away a long time. They didn't go up there and tell you. I don't shine shoes anymore.
Relax, will you, for crying out? What's getting to you? I'm breaking your balls a little bit, that's all. I'm only kidding with you.
Sometimes you don't sound like you're kidding. You know, there's a lot of people around.
So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again.
I got 2 grenades in my house. I blow up all Mulberry Street before I give you one. You understand? I don't know what I would do if there's something wrong. You understand? I die with you.